Hi, guys. I'm your host, Polly Jo Labbé with Star Nations Radio Network. This is Chakra Sessions, and I have a co-host. So if you see a cat popping up on the screen, that is Ocelot, and he has decided to join us for the class today. You know, he's a Reiki master, and I look for his insights a lot on what we're doing. So if you see him in the shot, that's because he's hanging out. So welcome to Chakra Sessions. I'm your host again, Polly Jo Labbé, and today we're talking about healing to enlightenment. And so that may sound like this huge topic, but it's basically, people are looking for a way to improve themselves or feel more like who they are or find their purpose, find their mission. And those are things that people bump up against all the time. And as we learn how to lighten our load energetically, we can begin to experience moments of enlightenment. Welcome, Robin. Nice to see you. I was actually thinking about you this morning in a kind of sideways way. I've been channeling some more oil remedies, and so I had to look up what some of the doTERRA oils even meant because I hadn't used them before. They hadn't been called in before. So I was thinking of who might know about this, and your name came popping into my head. So again, we have a Reiki master here, Ocelot, who may need to be, part of the call today because apparently he's the one who's going to help teach us about enlightenment. But the energy around kind of moving forward in our lives is because we're holding on to stuff that doesn't serve us any longer. And we all know that in the back of our head. And boy, it would be easy if we could just let it go as easily as throwing away a piece of paper. But it's not that easy because some of that stuff we've become pretty attached to and it's become part of our identity. So it's really hard to let that stuff go. So we're going to look at some ways that you can start moving your energy to a lighter place. And that's really what enlightenment is all about. Hi, Cindy Lynn. Good afternoon. Hi, Neshi. Nice to see you guys. And as we sort of get ourselves started, make sure that you like and share this broadcast so we can reach more people. I'm going to take a quick sip because apparently my throat chakra is having a little hiccup here. And maybe Ocelot could chime in a little bit because, maybe if I twist my camera a little bit. There, now he's on the screen with me. So that is Master Ocelot. He is the Reiki master. He helps train my students here at Trinity Healing Sanctuary and the School of Mystical Energy Healing. He is very, very knowledgeable about all things energy. And I'm sure the reason he needed to be part of the broadcast today is because we have such a hard time with enlightenment. Cats have got it down pat, right? Just be in the moment. And they are a really good example of just being in the moment. And apparently he needs to be in this moment with us. So there's my dude. I'll leave him in the screen so you guys can see him while he's hanging out here. He'll probably get bored at some time, with us. So hi, Rochelle. Nice to see you. Nice to have people in the house. Yep, he's departing. Awesome. So I'm going to switch myself back a little bit. So my spiritual team lately, as I've been doing the writing for Star Nations magazine, and working on curriculum for my healing school, there are a number of themes that keep coming up. And oh, nice. So Cindy Lynn says, yay, I could use the help this week with the energy and release as I go into my birthday on Saturday. Well, happy early birthday, Cindy Lynn. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, like I said, my team keeps bringing up, enlightenment in sort of a couple of different ways. So one of the ways that it talks about enlightenment is it talks about the density of energy. So when we hold on to something tight, it becomes more dense. And so let me see if I have one here that I can grab. Yeah. So if you have a piece of paper, right, it's really light. It's not that hard. And, it's pretty easy to just put in the recycling. But when you crumple it up and you turn it in this really ball, it's really dense. Even though it's little, it's really, really dense. Now, this isn't going to go through the shredder very easily. You're going to have to pull it apart, right, to get it to a place where you could shred it. And most of the time we have these like little lumps where we're like, well, I don't even remember why it's wrinkled like that, so I'm just going to put it in my pocket. And I'm going to hang on to it. Or maybe it's in the bottom of your purse if you're like me, right? So we kind of like hold on to our memories like that. We crinkle them up. We turn them into this like really tight, dense amount of energy, and we stuff them somewhere in our body. So when we do that, our energy gets a little heavier, and we might feel a little more sluggish. But just like with your purse, you can throw a bunch of things in there, and it's not until you reach this certain point to where it's like, geez, what's in my purse? It's gotten so heavy. We don't notice the little things as they're accumulating. Just all of a sudden, it's heavy. Hi, Judy. Nice to see you. So that's the same thing with our memories. It's the same thing with our experiences. It's the same thing with these beliefs that we have, that other people taught us. And it's also true of, ideas we're holding on to. So when we hold on to energy like that, it gets dense. And when it's dense, it's actually heavy. We feel the weight of it, right? And so we've all had moments where we've experienced, this really heavy energy on our shoulders. Like we've taken on too much and it's weighing us down, and it's hard to put one foot in front of the other because you just are dreading taking care of it or doing some activity that's just really not your favorite, right? So that energy is really dense. It's really heavy. When we're in anything that isn't love, it's got some weight to it. So anything that is fearful, that is angry, that is sad, that is boring, all of that is heavy. And, I was thinking about, my teenage years. There was a lot of teenage energy up, starting in the full moon on Wednesday and through a lot of the weekend. I don't know about you guys, whether you experienced that where you are, but my goodness, how angsty were you when you were a teenager? Like everything was such a major big deal. Even like what you wore that day to school. Because if you didn't wear the right thing, then somebody might say something or pick on you. And it was like so heavy. And you're dragging your feet out the door, and homework is a pain because, there's so much of it. The books are so heavy, right? And when we're in that space where all the things that we're doing are heavy and not joyful, then we get tired from carrying all that energetic weight. And when we're in that kind of energetic fatigue, it's really hard to want to do anything. And we can get a little depressed because we're so weighed down and we have no idea why. I had this really wild vision, not like wild, like psychedelic, but just like it struck me, where I had this vision with my spiritual team. I'd asked some ways to, I was feeling a little stuck. I've been feeling a little stuck about like the next step, and I know I'm on my spiritual path. That's not the issue for me. It's like, well, what's next? Am I supposed to write this book? Am I supposed to write that book? I have like 5 books that my team has told me to write, and I'm not sure which one to do first or if I'm supposed to work on all of them at the same time. And I've got a lot of work to do as the head of a healing school, right? And it's a 3-year school, and it's very intense healing work, and we release a lot of things. And as the director, I have to really be in a clean, clear slate to be able to hold space for all these people who are trying to let their dense energy go. And so I was trying to ask for a way to see it more clearly. And my team was like, imagine if you're moving and you've got packing boxes everywhere, right? They're stacked to the ceiling and they're all open. And each one has a bunch of little things in it. And it's overwhelming, right? If you move an entire household, it's overwhelming how much stuff you've got everywhere. And my team was saying to me, what if you had the opportunity in your life right now to sort everything in those boxes? First of all, you could see some of them were half empty. And so even if you just condensed stuff together, I would be able to get rid of quite a few boxes. And then my team was showing me these 3 piles. Keep, trash, and give back. And I was like, what's give back? And my team was like, there's stuff that you're carrying for other people that you could just give back to them. It's theirs to carry. So I'm looking around at this mess and realizing that there's stuff, number 1, that I don't have to hold on to, I can throw away. I get to choose what I want to keep. And I have an opportunity to give this stuff back to who it belongs to. And when I came out of that meditation, I was like excited. I was giddy. Like, what if you went through your house right now and said, if I had to move tomorrow, what wouldn't I want to take with me? And give it away. Or give it back to who gave it to you, right? And we can do that every single day with our energy. We can look into memories and see what's got weight. I carried a lot of my trauma for a very long time. And it's not that my trauma is gone, because people will, freak out if they lose that part of their identity, right? Because being a victim of that trauma can become a really ingrained part of your identity. And I do not wish to take anything away from you in this moment or any other moment, to be truthful. But I don't need my victim to be like 200-pound Betty in my belly, right? I can be, all right, I had the trauma, but it doesn't have to weigh me down. It just defines how I move forward. And it allows me to help other people who are still really embedded in their trauma and say, hey, sweetie, I got out of this trap and you can too, right? And so I've lightened a lot of my energy around my trauma. So they're there more as the flat piece of paper. They're like this, right? They're just that flat piece of paper rather than the crumpled up ball any longer. And those I can stack, and they don't take up as much room. They don't weigh as much. And I can shred them when I'm done, right? The flat pieces of paper, you can go, throw it through the shredder. And so we can do that with all of our energy. And there are things that you have held on to that you don't even realize. I was helping a student this weekend who didn't want to go to her school reunion, her high school reunion. Once she graduated, she was out of there. She wasn't going back. And so I just asked, like, what was so bad about it? Was it traumatizing or, and it wasn't that. She couldn't really put her finger on it initially. But we could feel the energy was heavy for her. And she blamed her high school and everybody in it for how she felt as a teenager. She had projected all her angst onto the school and onto the people who went to the school. So she blamed them for everything. And so she thought if she saw them again, it would be a horrible thing. And we were talking about how much energy she had invested in that story, because that story was heavy and that story was old, and it probably wasn't totally true. Yeah, there might have been a couple of people who were mean or who weren't friendly with you, but they weren't all bad. When we make an all people kind of energy, then we start to take away their humanity. Interesting that my team wants to go here. So when we are in a place where, we have our beliefs and our rules and our morals, we put ourselves in our own boxes. So I'm in a teacher box because I've been a teacher for a really long time. Realistically, probably my whole life, because I can even remember being in nursery school and teaching somebody how to write their name. And oh, nice job, Roberta. She just read, when you share a cutting trauma all the time with everyone, you cut them too. Yes, you do, because those memories are jagged, right? Because in some of those traumatic memories, we may feel broken or shattered. And so when you have that sensation, the memory is jagged. So yes, sweetheart, you do cut other people with them because you're carrying the shards with you in your energy field. So wouldn't it be cool to take the shards and sort of put them back into a piece where it's no longer feeling broken. And then you can keep it safely in your own container, or you can hand it back to whoever it came from. But where my team was kind of going with the energy is that lots of times we hold on to boxes that were true at a particular time that aren't true anymore. So think about like the groups that you were in high school or in middle school. Hi, Jacqueline. Nice to see you. So if you were, like I had certain groups, I was a dancer, and even as a dancer, I was a dancer at this particular dance studio, right? Which put me in a different group than dancers who went to a different studio, right? So it put me in that box because I was one of Carol's students. So I was in a Carol box, right? A Carol dancer box. And I was in a box that I lived in, downtown Amherst is where I spent most of my years. So in Amherst, I lived in a downtown Amherst box. In other words, if you lived in South Amherst and North Amherst and Pelham and Shutesbury and Leverett, like they all had their own box because their town had their own energy. So I had this downtown energy around me. And then I lived in the box of, I was a girl. And I lived in a box that I was a cheerleader. And I lived in the box of, I was an advanced student in my classes. And I lived in a box that I was a walker. I walked to school. And I lived in a box that I had third lunch at school. And I lived in a box that, I had like a certain group of friends, I really didn't, I wasn't in a clique. I know people who are cheerleaders and think maybe there was a clique, but everybody in our cheerleading group were gymnasts and dancers and track athletes and things like that. So we had a very different vibe around that. But, like there was the group of people who were in all the musicals, and there was a group of people who played softball, and there was a group of people. So those are all boxes, right? And we've had more and more of them. Like I have a box for the fact that I worked at, CVS at one point, and I have a box that I worked at Claire's Boutique, piercing ears, years ago. And so we have all these boxes. Now, they categorized us at the time, right? And there are people out there who will look at one of your boxes and make blanket statements about you because of your box, right? And when you see the box and not the person, your energy has gotten very heavy. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of complicated. Sometimes my team comes in a little complicated. But, you can have the, religion box, right? So it's like, all right, this is your religion, so this is your box. Now, you might not feel like you're in the box, but somebody else might have you in the box because of that. We're all, if we're from the United States, we're in the United States box. You're also in a box for what town you live in and what state you live in. And you're in a box depending on how you vote. And you're in a box depending on, your district, right? And people start to make blanket statements around these boxes. So what would happen if we started to eliminate our own boxes? You know, I was a cheerleader. I'm not anymore. I can throw that box away. I'm not throwing away the memories, but I'm throwing away the label and the box and what was anybody else may make assumptions about me based on that fact, right? And I can get rid of my box that had me as, a ninth grader in this year, right? Because I'm not any longer. And I can get rid of the box that, I'm one of Carol's dancers. I am one of Carol's dancers. I am just not any longer dancing with her, for her, right? So all of these things that we hold on to make our energy dense. They actually weigh us down. They work against gravity. And when they do that, we feel gravity within us. Everything feels so heavy and responsible. And we get in this place where everything is a chore. How many things do you have right now that are in your life are a burden to you? You don't like doing them. Those things are all dense. If they're not in love and they're not in joy, they're heavy. And when the spiritual teachers out there are talking about enlightenment, they're talking about letting go of the things that are too heavy, that aren't in love. And it's as hard and as easy as that. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but fear is heavy, right? It creates this, need for our organs to work faster. They have to speed up to keep up with all the fear that we have going on in us. The adrenaline rush, the adrenals are just going berserk because we're stressed out. So when our organs have to work too hard and too fast, it's like they're creating a battle inside of us. And I know there's some of you out there who have felt that battle in you, right? I felt the battle in me. I feel it from time to time, even now. It's like, what's that about? So as I said, my teenager energy was up. And a lot of people around me had teenager energy on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe even a little bit of Saturday. There was something about this full moon that kind of put a bunch of people that I know into a time frame when they were about 15 to 17. And how much stress and anxiety we carried at that point, because we were trying to exert who we are, right, at that time. And people were telling us no. They were telling us that, we weren't good enough, we weren't pretty enough, we weren't strong enough, we weren't thin enough, we weren't fat enough. Who did we think we are for, wanting that? Or we were shamed about how we dressed, or we were shamed about who we hung out with. And because of that, we had all this inner struggle, all this dense energy. And many of us are still carrying some of those thoughts and ideas. If you say out loud, and I invite you to do it, nobody's going to hear, but take a deep breath and say, I am enough. Do you believe it? You don't have to answer. Is there anywhere in your belly that kind of has little butterflies? You know? And what if you said, I am exactly as I am meant to be? You know, the divine doesn't make mistakes. You are exactly as you are meant to be in this moment. If you're not happy, then change it, right? And don't shame yourself about it. Don't be mean to your teenager. Think about how when you were a teenager, if grown-ups talked to you a certain way, you couldn't hear them. You didn't listen. You did the exact opposite, right? So think about that teenager inside of you who's heard you say things like, I'm not enough, or say things like, well, we're not smart enough for this, or we're not um, pretty enough for that, or we don't have enough money to do that. Um, that inner teenager gets revved up. And when it gets revved up, all those old memories get really, really heavy, like stones in your body. And we all have things that we're holding on to, and sometimes we talk about them over and over and over again. And every time we rehash a story, if it's not in joy, if it's in anger, frustration, fear, we put another layer of heaviness around it. So it's why sometimes talking about things doesn't work, because it's great to get it out there, to use your voice, but once you've done it, now you need to heal it. And all the great masters, or all the spiritual teachers out there right now are like, let it go, let it go. And it's like, it's not as easy as letting go of this piece of paper, right? Because if it was this easy, we would do it, right? But it's really dense. And so I encourage you to think about some of the boxes of things that you might be holding on to. And if you could choose to empty some of them so you didn't have to carry them the next time you move, would you? Could you? And you can release old relationships that were cruddy. You don't have to hang on to those. It's not going to make the memory disappear, but you don't have to invest any energy in it still. Because when energy is still flowing through the memory, that's giving it more weight and more juice. And that's part of what I do as part of energy healing, is we tap on the energy of things that we've held on to, and we start to release it. Because when it gets really heavy in our body, it starts to affect our mood. It starts to affect our ability to focus and to concentrate. And it starts to show up in our physical body as pain. So if you could imagine that every painful thing that you've experienced in your body was stuck energy, now would you want to release it? Because if you release it, you don't have to experience pain. Would that be worth clearing out some of the boxes, some of the clutter? And that's what the spiritual masters are talking about with enlightenment. Like, as you let things go, you spend more time in your heart center. You spend more time in love. You spend more time in joy. And you don't have to experience emotional, mental, or physical pain. And yes, as we get older, we're going to have aches and pains. That's how it is. But it doesn't necessarily have to be as intense. But knowing that every single thing that we hold on to will end up in our physical body if we don't release it, wouldn't you want to create a future for yourself with less pain? I know I do. So this is what enlightenment is about. This is what enlightenment is discussing with you guys. It is showing you that when you hold on to things, emotions and beliefs and memories, they weigh you down and they control your thinking, and maybe they're not who you really are anymore. I mean, think about the way you thought about life when you were a teenager, right? Do you feel that same way right now? You're welcome, Lindsay. So when you are in that place where you're having pain or you're having a lot of energy and emotions moving around, just think about, how do I get myself back to joy? How do I get myself back to love? And sometimes we can't do it alone. Sometimes we need to tap on somebody and say, hey, I need a hand with this. And that is not a sign of weakness. Let me tell you, when you know something's too heavy to carry by yourself, get a friend. We know how to ask for help to move a sofa in our house or a refrigerator, but we don't know how to reach out and say, hey, I had this trauma that just resurfaced and I need help moving it. It's the same thing. So why not reach out and have somebody help you with it? And like I said, sometimes talking about it can at least get the energy flowing, but get some healing around it or watch the show on Wednesday night. Bring that heavy thing with you and we'll work on it and we'll release it, because only you have to know what energy we're moving. So we've got like about 20 minutes left. So I invite you to just take just going to take a couple of deep breaths. And as we do that, think about something you've been holding on to. For me, there was in my teenage years, I had a lot of fear. And, rightly so, because I had a lot of trauma that made me very hyper vigilant. But that walking around in fear all the time, really impacted my physical health, as well as my emotional health in that time period. And so I can still feel that a little bit in my body. So for me, that's what I'm going to ask to release as we're doing this healing. But you get to choose what you would like to release. And if you don't know, you can just ask that anything that's too heavy that you're carrying, for the load to be lightened a little bit. Or please hand back anything I'm carrying for somebody else. Those will both help lighten your load and help get you one step farther down the path to enlightenment. So, got it. We're going to start hearing the clearing noises. For those of you who are new to the show, I'm going to make burping kind of noises to clear the energy for the group. You also may hear squawking, or you may hear an elder who talks through me sometimes who speaks to your soul to remind it how to be more in love energy. So take a couple of moments to get yourself situated. You want your arms and your legs uncrossed. You want to really feel comfortable in your body, in your space, to the best that you can. And begin by calling in the divine energy, however you perceive that. And we ask the divine energy to surround and protect us in a bubble of infinite love and infinite light. And if you're feeling nervous or anxious, you can ask that a second bubble be placed around the room or the space that you are in, just so you can have an extra layer of protection.
Yeah.
And now call in your spiritual team, your angels, your guides, your ancestors, all divine beings of the highest, fullest, and brightest vibration available to you, to us in this moment. And we set the intention that the healing that we are participating in is for the good of all and harm to none, including ourselves.
Yeah.
We begin by calling the divine energy in through the top of our crown and really helping us to clear our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, or patterns that may be spinning around in our head at this moment. And just gently asking with each breath we get returned back to the present moment. Calling all our energy from the past back into this moment. And all of our anxiousness and worry about the future, let's call that back into this moment as well. Just take a moment for your third eye and your five senses to come together to work as a team, making room to expand your perception, your intuition, and to be able to communicate more clearly with your spiritual team. And asking that all the channels of communication that you have with your team be opened, so that you have an opportunity for clarity, and to experience the wisdom that your higher self continues to share with you. When we are able to see it, experience it.
Yeah.
And allowing the energy in our jaw and our throat to open so that we can speak our authentic truth and be heard in our communication.
Yeah.
Releasing the energy about all the times we've held on to our words in anger or fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or releasing the energy connected to all the times we've used words in anger or fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really making space for your self-expression to flow through easily and fully.
Yeah. Yeah.
And any weight, energetic weight that you're carrying on your shoulders right now, for yourself, for others,
Yeah.
the burdens or responsibilities
Yeah.
that feel heavy or away from joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can even ask simply that some of the heaviness of your responsibilities be lifted so that you can find a way to move through your responsibilities in a joyful way, in a grateful way.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And now releasing any energy around your lungs or your heart,
Yeah.
any fear or anxiousness that made it difficult to breathe. And just gently ask the divine breath be brought back so that you can breathe and live your life fully.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And connecting with your inner child and feeling, asking, ask your inner child what energy it might still be carrying for you. Is it holding onto trauma or memories? What is making it difficult for your inner child to be joyful,
Yeah.
excited, or in a place of wonderment?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can help her or him release that energy right now. You can take that energy and clear it or simply remove the burden that they've been carrying.
Yeah.
Allow your child to have space to stretch and grow and be childlike again.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And now ask your inner teenager, what are they holding on to for you? Are they holding on to anger? Are they holding on to sadness or that feeling of being different or awkward?
Yeah.
Did they have something difficult to maneuver that they need to be released from?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Hmm. And ask your inner warrior if it's been holding on to battles that you did not get to fight or that you wished had finished differently.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And any regret or blame or shame that might be attached to that,
Yeah.
or the should have, could have energy. And just releasing all the energy the warrior has walked around with.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then ask your sage elder, that part of you that you've carried through the lifetimes, who has all the knowledge that you've accumulated. Is there anything that you're unaware of that you're holding on to? And you don't need to know what it is, but is there a way to release the energy or the heaviness, the density of any of your knowledge
Yeah.
that could be returned back to love and to light and release the fear, anger, sadness that might be attached to it?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
There we go. Beautiful. And moving into your belly, into your organs, and just see if there's any organ that is holding onto old energy. is your pancreas searching for more sweetness in your life. And so it's just holding on to too much negativity.
Got it. Yeah.
Is your liver holding on to too much anger, frustration?
Got it. Got it.
Is your stomach holding on to past events that were hard to handle or hard to digest, understand?
Got it.
And could some of that energy just release?
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
And are your kidneys holding on to any righteous anger at mistreatment of you, of others,
Got it.
or the injustice of situations?
Got it. Got it. Got it.
And can that all be released? Beautiful. And moving into your second chakra and really releasing any residual emotional energy tied to anybody or any situation, and really allowing your emotions to come back within you in a balanced and loving way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then moving through your tailbone and your hips and your legs, and really allowing any last energy connected to you feeling safe and secure in your body, in your home, in society,
Got it. Got it.
on this planet.
Got it. Got it.
And asking the divine grandmother earth to come up and grab a hold of your feet and really pull down any of that energy that we've released way down into her belly, into her center,
Got it.
releasing us anything in the calves and the ankles that you're still holding on to that is keeping you from moving forward on your path and in your journey and in your life.
Got it. Got it.
And now asking the divine energy to move down our body one more time and fill every single corner with love and light. So all of those heavy, energetic things we're holding on to now being filled with beautiful, healing, creative, unconditional love.
Got it.
All the way down your body, all the way to your toes. And now take a couple of deep breaths. And on the exhale, just blow anything else out that you don't need to hold on to.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And just start to bring yourself back into this moment. Wiggle your fingers, your toes. Stretch, yawn if you need to. So just take a moment of awareness. Oh, and I just want to say thank you to all of the spiritual teams that were here today who showed up and helped us with this healing.
Yeah.
Feel your body now. Just feel if you feel lighter, freer, relaxed, like anything got lifted off of you, even if just for a moment. And this can be your healing journey to enlightenment. As we become aware of the things that we're holding on to and letting them go gently, lovingly, together in meditation with a healer in any capacity, we actually also allow the energy on the earth to get lighter, because we contribute to the dense energy that is here on the planet. So as we lighten our load, we lighten the energy around us. And how cool would it be if we all began to lighten our load and create a lighter, more loving place for us to inhabit. So I encourage you guys to continue working on this, because I do quite regularly. And you can join me tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. and we will do another soul clearing. And I'll be doing divine messages as well. I'll be pulling cards for people. And I do that until we are complete. I never leave somebody without a reading. So there's no need to get anxious and worried. I make sure that as we are live, I don't leave anybody out. Every so often afterwards, I sometimes don't get to draw all the cards, but I do my best. And for those of you who really could use some more healing even today, join us tonight at 8 p.m. for Neshi's show, Communications from Home, because she is going to do the unity breath. And that is very cleansing and very healing for all of us. And with that, guys, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And thanks for joining me for Chakra Sessions. Have a great one.
Yeah.